We live in the capital of superstitions, if you're living in India, that is. The aim of this channel has always been to debunk pseudoscience and to expose superstitions. Today is going to be no different, but today I will end this video by asking a very important question. I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for it. However, this question can open a channel of thoughts in some people and may help them come out of their superstitions. If you ask anyone in India if they believe in any superstition, and their answer would be, no, I don't believe in such nonsense. While I was having lunch one day at my workplace, I asked this question to a couple of my colleagues. They were unanimous. Then I opened my lunchbox and asked them to share my chicken curry with them, and both replied, no, today is Tuesday, I don't eat non-veg. No, they don't believe in superstitions. For everyone else's belief is a superstition, except their own. That gets labeled as belief. In reality, there is no difference. Many people have personal experience which they can't define or explain. But people have this strange habit of not admitting that they don't know something. So they come up with false explanations, and as time passes, they become general superstitions. It is always best to say, I don't know, when you don't know something, than to cook up something to explain it or attribute it to the supernatural. Science is very modest when it comes to that. Science, if it doesn't know, is modest enough to say it doesn't know. We don't know how the Big Bang happened. Yeah, we have speculations, but no conclusive evidence as yet. So science says, I don't know. There is modesty and humility in those three words. I don't know. Now coming back to superstitions, which is our topic for today, I'm sure you must have seen many cricketers speak about how they have remained in a certain position without moving during a cricket match, because they fear that if they moved, a wicket would fall. They fail to think why such a connection would exist. Yet many do it. I'm sure you may have all experienced this while watching a cricket match. You go to the loo in between, and when you come back, a wicket falls. If that happens to be the wicket of your own team, then you're cursed for returning at just that point. If suddenly your team hits 2 sixes, people may actually shut you up in the loo for the rest of the match. Such are the convincing skills of superstitions. So these small superstitions are what becomes a culture. If what you call as culture is what our ancestors did, then all of our culture is steeped in superstitions. I know, it sounds unbelievable when you first hear it. Don't open the comment box yet, hear me out. We used to travel by foot and bullock carts. Would we still do it because it was part of our culture? No, we need the latest technology. No one would send someone out to send a message today or tie the message to the leg of a pigeon. We would just flick open our mobile phones. Our ancestors used to survive without electricity. Now we get agitated if the current goes for 5 minutes. Have you heard someone say our yogis used to meditate in caves, so let me also stay inside them? They never used electricity, so let me cut my electricity and use palm leaves, cause that is what my ancestors did. No, there is only one place where we shun technology and a civilized way of doing things, when it comes to our beliefs. When it comes to superstitions and beliefs, we tend to follow what our ancestors did. We cannot move an inch from that, how much ever inconvenient or ridiculous it may seem. And when asked, what is the reply that you get? This is how our ancestors did these things. This is part of our culture and heritage. We ought to follow it blindly. When it comes to anything else, we embrace modern technology without batting an eyelid. But when it comes to superstitions and beliefs, we close our eyes. Isn't this such an irony? I mean, look at these strange customs from India. If we did this elsewhere, we would probably get locked up in a mental institution. But if you do the same things in the name of belief, it gets accepted as part of our culture. If you try to oppose these barbaric practices, you would be labeled as a Deshdrohi for being against Indian culture and heritage. Anything goes in the name of religion, however absurd it may sound and seem, and it is true for any religion. And it doesn't make a distinction between the rich and the poor and the intellectual and the ignorant. Once the malware called superstition and belief enters their brains, there is no distinction. All follow these irrational beliefs blindly. It is time we uninstall these malware-infected software from our brains and start to think rationally and logically. Steven Weinberg was right when he once said, with or without religion, you would have good people doing good things and evil people doing evil things. But for good people to do evil things, that takes religion. So the point that I'm trying to make today is this. Is there anything in our culture, tradition or heritage that is not bound to a superstition? Anything. I would love to hear that from you. Something for you to think about. I had given this a great deal of thought and I can't think of any. Our culture, tradition and heritage that we so proudly hold in esteem is nothing but a big bunch of superstitions and false beliefs. I mean, look at the number of things that we proudly call as part of our heritage. Astrology, Vaastu, Ayurveda, yoga, sati, lemon chili totems, evil eye, sorcery, black magic, human sacrifices, auspicious days and times or muhurats, horoscopes, fortune telling through palmistry, numerology, parrot astrology, boom boom matukaran and parading of cows for money, godmen and godwomen, faith healing, statues drinking milk, statues leaking blood, honor killings, witch hunting and booths and boothnies. The list is virtually endless. The common string that holds all these is of course religion. Touch any of these or oppose any of these and all hell breaks loose. How long would we continue to parade around supporting these superstitions as a heritage, culture and tradition? I have told this before in one of my previous videos. If there is something in our heritage that is good, we should adopt that. If there is something that needs to be revised and used, it should be revised. And if there is something that needs to be shoved down the drain, it should be done so. In the long list that I gave, did you find anything that needs keeping? Think rationally and logically and answer. We do have a law in our country which prevents supporting such acts since 1954, the Drugs and Magical Remedies Act, which gets shoved under the carpet all the time. I shall do a separate video on that very soon. Our constitution demands its citizens to develop the scientific temper, humanism and the spirit of inquiry and reform. But how many actually do that? It is time that people in our country, at least the current generation and the upcoming generation, start to turn their heads away from these superstitious beliefs and stop over-glorifying a mythical heritage and culture. In 2007, a survey was conducted by the Institute for the Study of Secularism in Society and Culture of the Trinity College with the help of Center for Inquiry called Worldviews and Opinions of Scientists in India. 1100 scientists surveyed from 130 institutes, out of which 24 admitted to believing that holy men can perform miracles and 38% believed that God could perform miracles. Whereas belief in faith healing was 16%, Vaastu was at 14% and astrology stood at 14%. 69% of those scientists strongly approved introduction of astrology courses in universities. 67% strongly approved the tradition of seeking blessings of Tirupati before rocket launches. However, a majority of them agreed that the aim of the development of scientific temper, which is a fundamental duty according to the Constitution's Article 51AH, is not being fulfilled. A company named Teamlease carried out a survey called Superstitions at Workplace in 2012. The survey covered 800 companies in 8 cities, of which 61% of respondents admitted to having superstition and 51% admitted to following a superstition at their workplace. 48% believed that these practices had a positive effect on their productivity. It was noted that management didn't object to the practices as long as it didn't affect productivity. Most practices were related to Vaastu Shastra or Feng Shui, but other personal practices were also observed. 80% of female employees were comfortable with the practices being followed in their workplace, while it was 68% for males. And 63% admitted thinking that female employees are more superstitious. So this is in hope that more people would practice their fundamental duty as prescribed by Article 51AH of our Constitution and stay away from superstitions, beliefs and pseudoscience. I shall be back soon with another scientific temper promoting video. Until then, it's bye-bye from Pale Blue Thoughts.